Hey guys, welcome up to another episode of the Pod of War Games cast. I am your host, UF Gizmo, joined of course by Xbox Live's CW Lanky.
Hello.
And the man, the myth, the legend, Massive Daz Chris Pengelly.
Hello everyone.
So boys, it's another week. August is almost over, almost at Christmas. Chris has obviously got 600 game shows to watch this week. He's very excited. And you don't ever have to predict CM Punk ever again. So that's exciting.
No.
That's how it already happened, boys. Brilliant stuff. So let's get our pop on the go. Let's get to what we've been playing with Chris Pengelly.
Okay.
Do I need a timer, Chris, before you start?
No,
Okay.
not really, because it's only 5 things.
Only?
Oh, I'm doing one. I'm doing one for 5. Right.
Okay.
3,
So
2, 1, go.
So we talked last week about Metal Gear Solid. Dave obviously finished the first one. Kind of funny, I started the second one. So I've played a bit of the second one myself. I'm basically where
pause the clock.
Yeah.
Define a bit.
I'm about 4 hours in, but I already done the tanker, so I'm about another 2 hours into it.
So that's
basically
6.
saying-
Correct. 6 hours into the game.
No, I'm 4 in total. 2 tanker
Oh, so
and
you've
2.
added 2. You've played 2 since this week. Okay, that's clear.
And I'm almost to the same point as where they are. I'm kind of funny. I would be coming up to fighting Fat Man, so as first boss.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it everything you wished it would be?
Yeah, it holds up really well. Looks really good still. The controls going back to them now are a bit weird because obviously when I started this and did the tanker, I just come off Twin Snakes, which has got slightly more modern controls because of the GameCube port than this. But going back to it after like a year or so, that could have done updating Blue Point. I'm surprised they didn't. Like you use the triggers for fire instead of trying to think X. I think it's X on Xbox. The fire. So yes, that's kind of weird, but otherwise graphically and stuff, it still holds up really.
When you say weird, is that just another word for bad?
No, because it's not bad. Because
It sounds so much like Skyward Sword all over again.
No, because games have evolved since 2001. So in 2001,
but you're allowed to say that the controls are bad and that now modern controls are better.
Modern controls are better, but they're not like intentionally bad. They're not like Shadow of the Colossus where they were bad on purpose. They're just times have changed for Metal Gear Solid. Hence why play Ground Zeroes, the controls on Phantom Pain, the controls are more modern. Or even like Death Stranding of Kojima's more modern controls.
You are never going to get Chris Pengelly to say the word bad in context to a Kojima game, so you can stop trying.
Yeah.
Even if it's true, he's never going to say it.
Yeah. And I also played a little bit of Zone of the Enders as well.
And again, we're going to keep doing this for every game. Define a little bit.
Maybe an hour.
So, because obviously on the Switch, a little bit is less than an hour. So if you ever say a little bit, that is now what you refer to.
Yeah, maybe an hour or so. Sort of Kojima related because obviously he wasn't director, he was producer if I remember correctly. And you've got, I can't remember the guy that does all the art. He did like the robots art and that. And that's also why I wanted to play it because I've watched the first of the 4 Evangelion movies. So I was in the mood for like a mech shooter, bash 'em up sort of game. So I thought, I'm going to play Zone of the Enders because that's pretty close to... It is because you have Annoying Kid as like the main character as well. So, that's pretty similar. And that. So, like I said, a little bit of that. Played the Tales of Arise demo. And I was really excited for this. I said in our chat, I think next week we'll do our September games thing. And this was one I would say I definitely was going to go and get. Played the demo, looks really good. And that's basically it's positive. It looks really good. I did not like the combat system at all. So if I was going to pick up a Namco RPG at the moment, I would mostly go back and pick up Scarlet Nexus because it was 30 quid this week on Xbox Live, and I've seen it physical for like $24.99 already on Xbox. So I think if I was going to go for JRPG by Namco, it would be that. I was not impressed by the demo of Tales of Rise at all. So I know you're not a huge fan of demos, Craig, but if I hadn't played it, I would have bought this. So that would have been like 40, 50 quid. like wasted with the demo of playing it. It's this wasn't actually very good. There's a better option available.
Yeah, Tales is a bit of an acquired taste anyway, combat-wise. It's still in my fantasy draft, and I still think it's going to review well. I don't, from my memory of you, Chris, I don't think you've played that many Tales games. But you've played Symphonia and Vesperia, really, right? Is that the two that you've actually played?
Yeah, which are
probably the least actiony of the all of them, really. Like if you compare to Zestiria and Berseria.
Yeah,
on PS4.
I totally missed them on PS3. It's like PS3 games like really should go back to like those Graces, Berseria and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Cilia and all that.
Yeah, it's it's interesting what it tries to do to combat the system and that, but yeah, wasn't for me. Maybe if it comes to Game Pass or really cheap, I would give it another go. But at the moment, if I was going to get one, it would be Scarlet Nexus, I think.
Fair enough.
Then the other two are both games that came to Game Pass this week. So first one was Humankind on PC, which I've played about 12 hours of. So I've gone from a little bit to quite a bit. 12 hours. I've only played like the one, I want to say campaign. Because when I started out, it didn't really give you any options. It just said, have you never played like a game like this before? You have played one, but not like great at it. Or you're amazing at these type of games. So I went for the middle one because it's a bit like Civilization. Played for like 600 turns or something. It's 12 hours, so a long way into. But eventually, I had to surrender. I think it was either something like the Mexicans or something like that. Genuinely, not joking. I had to surrender. I was still at Egyptians from like 2034 or something like that, starting from like whatever BC. Really good Civilization like game.
You have another go.
Yeah, I'm actually go for another thing, but now I got options, so I can go, right, I'm going to play against one other Empire, so that'd be pretty easy, or I can play against 9 others, and then it'd be harder. I can make the map bigger, make the map smaller, and we can make it that the continent is basically all ice, or all that sort of stuff. There is a multiplayer option as well, but obviously, so I'd be randoms, or, trying to get you two to play a PC Civilization, would be quite hard, so...
Yeah, I quite like 4X and RTS games, but it takes a lot for me to sit at a computer and play. I'm Age of Empires 4 is probably the one that's most likely to get me into it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it does some things differently because, with my I was playing, I had a nuclear missile, but I couldn't launch it because I didn't have uranium. So I just had this missile sat around doing nothing.
I love the idea of you playing these type of games, by the way. I love the idea of you.
I love that you wanted to launch the missile.
Completely clueless. All right, I've built the nuke. What do you need for a nuclear warhead? What goes in that? Some stone, maybe some gold.
Yeah, but on this one you have to trade resources and buy resources. Well, when I play Civilization, it's right, build the nuclear missile, launch it, bang, all different routes. So Dave, remember I got really into the one on Vita.
You did really weird, really randomly. Very randomly.
Yeah, so I played that, and then the other thing I played this week, also on Game Pass, was 12 Minutes, which I also finished. I think I got the true ending. It is the Metacritic or the OpenCritic scored, because I don't know which one of you picked it for fantasy. Was it you, Craig?
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick indie games.
I think it is about right. It's very, I don't want to say clever. It's just, and how the story and that's done, but it's just not executed of it. It's it would be better if it was actually a film.
It's one of those games so far. I've seen all the reviews, and every time, I'm not even. This is going to sound like I'm being a dick, but every single one of the people that I've seen that have talked about it on Twitter are PlayStation fanboys that have basically marked it down because it's not a PlayStation. Everything they're saying, I'm like, if this was a PlayStation game, it'd be a cult classic. It's so funny to me. It's it's a bit weird and complex. I'm like, dude, every PlayStation indie game is the same. like every single one. Like, but it's on Xbox, so you can't say that. It's
see, I've seen some videos, and that's also like it took me like 3.5 hours to finish, and that's what like I watched a few reviews and stuff like that, like games Tamor at GameSpot, like watched his review, and I even watched I think it was Eurogamer or something doing like a let's play of it, so I knew some of the things to do at like the start of it, which was kind of helpful. But it is like a point and click puzzle game, so I think you would like it from the gameplay perspective, Dave. But it is more how the story and everything is very sort of indie, and like I said, it would mostly work better as a film. Literally, you've had those people as the cast in in a film. It would work quite well.
Yeah, I'm interested. You're going to play it, Craig, because you're probably the opinion I'm most interested for with those types of games.
Yeah, I had it installed. I was going to play it this week, but I got derailed by something else.
Cool, because I'd say I really don't trust the PlayStation Twitter with it anymore, just because it just seems, it really does seem to depend on the platform. Maybe that's just me looking into it too much, but it always does. It does seem to see the same voices that always.
I do sort of agree with you. Like we talked last week again, Game Pass games. I said Super Lucky Tale when it came to Switch. It reviewed really well. I do think that's because it's a 3D platformer, and like the platform and who reviews it and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'd really just wish they would just let Xbox people review Xbox games, if I'm honest. But
yeah, but I think that's like I don't know many Xbox people. Let's use Ryan McCaffrey for a start. He likes first-person shooters, doesn't like platformer games. He's going to get Lucky Tales. Chris Gullion reviews him, likes platformers. He reviews Lucky Tale. He's going to give it a good score. I think that's like the thing when it came to Switch. You gave it to people that liked that sort of game. This is the thing. Like we know. Like I said, GameSpot one Tamor, I think, review 12 minutes. From what I've seen of him through Kind of Cut Funny, it does seem a game he would like, and he gets a 9 from him. So
yeah, it's one of those things. I think I've said it. I know I've said it a lot on our podcast over the years. I don't give a toss about reviews really, other than if it's broken. I prefer YouTubers or streamers that like have a similar taste. Yeah,
that's why I was trying to like his taste. Like he's been on the Kind of Funny Metal Gear thing. It's like, oh, okay, cool. He likes Metal Gear. He likes the Souls games. I know they're not really for me, but
he's a hipster. That's what he's saying.
I can get what he's into, and then if like, oh, he likes this game, okay, cool, sort of thing. It's the similar thing. But
it's the biggest frustration with our fantasy league is I have to give a shit about review scores again. That's probably the biggest problem with it. I'm just like, oh, do I have to?
Yeah. But, so it's on Game Pass, and it's try it's on PC as well, I believe. So if you've got to play with this thing, like. I liked it. It snuck into my top 10 of the year so far at number 10. So I don't think it'll stay there. But it's
the illustrious list.
Yeah.
Nice. Is that any pickups this week, Chris?
Oh yeah, I got one pickup. Okay. I have J-Stars on the Vita.
Okay, I presume you're not going to play it. It's a fighting game. It's a really average to bad fighting game.
Yeah.
On the Vita, if I remember.
How much?
18 quid.
Actually, yeah, okay. Well, we'll get to my pickup. My pickup costs less.
Yeah.
So, excellent, Chris. That was probably over 10 minutes. Let's check.
Yeah, just over, I think.
Just over, but it's okay. You've done
but
well.
We did interrupt him a little bit.
Did I make it 12 minutes?
I mean, I could kick you from this Discord and never invite you back, to be fair. Anyway, let's go on to Craig, because obviously Craig's always fun. What have you played / bought this week, Craig?
You'll be shocked to hear I bought nothing. I have played stuff though.
With a K. Nothing with a K, Craig.
Nothing. Since last week, I have the dog is going.
Just waits for you to start talking. Honestly, it does it every week.
I finished off. She's gone again. Angry, vicious animal. She just hears me talking. Goes right. I finished Last Stop, and I got the completion for that. I wasn't too far from the end. When we did the pod last week anyway, so did enjoy the end, enjoyed the game in general, and it is a nice easy completion. You do unlock a chapter select, I think, when you finish the game, so if you miss anything, you just go around and mop it up. So I got that one. I think it took me like 7 or 8 hours, not too bad. And then I started a game that I know Chris played for a bit, I would guess. And
I did see you play it, and I saw you had the 1000G, and I was like, oh, Oh, okay. Must be something I'm missing.
I think it's fair to say I like this more than Chris obviously did.
Yeah.
It is basically like a 3D puzzle, bit of a platformy sort of game. It's made by one person who pretty much did everything, I think, other than the music, which was done by another person. So basically 2 people. And you can kind of tell that it was a small team. It does look pretty, but the frame rate does drop in places. It does feel a little bit framey sometimes when you're trying to do the platforming.
Yeah, so the one person was an artist, not a programmer. That's what you need to
know. But the actual concept of the game is good fun. It's basically you go into these little biomes. I think there's about 12 of them. I think I'm right in saying, and it's all the classic video game biomes. You know, you got your ice one, your desert one, your forest one. They're all there. You've seen them all before. And you just do these very simple kind of platformy puzzle things to unlock the big puzzle at the end of the level, and then you move on. There's achievements for getting 100% in each little biome, which I did as I went, because they're quite simple, quite chill to do. There's one really frustrating puzzle in one of them. I think it's the lake biome. I think it's called like Lake Olga or something like that. There's this awful light puzzle, which had me screaming and swearing. And even looked up a guide, and even after looking at the guide, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This just doesn't make any sense to me at all. But other than that, like most of them are pretty easy and pretty stress-free. So I finished that, got the completion. Doesn't take too long. Takes like 4 or 5 hours probably. But similar to Last Stop, it's quite nice because the biomes are quite small. You can be like, all right, I've got 45 minutes before work. Let's say I can easily do one of these biomes in like 20 minutes. So I can just pick it up, do that, and then put it down in a good place without feeling like I'm rushing through stuff. So that was good. And then the only other thing I played, I've only done a little bit of it, is Art of Rally, which I don't know if you two have tried yet.
Yeah,
I
played it last week.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. It's weird because you think it's going to be super arcadey and simple when you play it, and it's actually pretty brutal.
It's Colin McRae, but like from isometric. Like it feels the same.
Yeah, it takes a little while to get used to the view, but the fact that it's harder makes it super satisfying. I'm finding when I actually like do well. So if you actually have a little clean run through a stage, you do get in that mood and that groove. You do get quite a lot of satisfaction from that. I've done, so I don't know how much you guys played of it, but I've done the first era because it's broken up into eras. I've done basically the late 60s. So I'm using all the old cars, like the minis and stuff like that. I'm guessing what's going to happen now is I move on to the next era and all the cars are going to be even faster, which is going to be fun because I was there felt like I was manhandling the cars just to stay on the road with going at like 50 miles an hour. And now I'm going to be going at God knows what speed trying to do it. So we'll see how that goes.
Because the big gimmick story wise is that there was an era of rally in real life, and I call it the turbo era. Where they stopped it because it was just too dangerous. Or yeah, something like that. So the crux of the game is if that never got cancelled. So I can imagine the last era is going to be horrendous because it is going to be like 600 miles an hour. I like the game. It's really cool for an indie game. It's really cool that it's got like a little hub world where you do little hub things, and that's really interesting for that type of game. And yeah, I think it's kind of snuck in, really, isn't it? My only frustration is all the achievements are lowercase, which is really upsetting. Other than that, it's fine.
Yeah, the game's title's even lowercase.
It is. Yeah, that's my one frustration. Other than that, it's pretty good. I know it has snuck in. Obviously, 12 minutes is the bigger game, and I feel like there was something else pretty big last week when it came out. I can't recall. It's not Quake.
I think it just came out in this like big spew of indie games.
It might be Hades actually. And that might be
it came out the same week as Hades.
Yeah. So but yeah, Art of Rally. Do not miss on it. That is a game worth playing on Xbox Game Pass. Who doesn't sponsor the show, but if they'd like to, that would be great. Email us at podofwarofficial@gmail.com. So was that it, Craig? Is that all your games you've played and you've purchased?
Yeah. Next week we're gonna get. Sponsored by, no, it's going to be sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
I would love to do a Raid Shadow Legends paid advertisement. I would be so happy to sit here and talk about Raid Shadow Legends and all the great characters you can get with the promo code Pengy. But unfortunately, that's not this week. There is no sponsor this week. Although Squarespace, if you want, now I'm joking. So as for me, it's a very quick and quiet week. I've got one pickup and one game I've played. The only game I have played at all this week is I've played about 5 hours of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Because I've had a very chilled week. I haven't really played much games. drinking or playing football or doing whatever, and I've just been lying in bed playing Mario Kart 8. It's the best thing on the Switch still. It's my favorite use of the Switch is
it's better than Skyward Sword HD.
I mean, I haven't played Skyward Sword HD. My girlfriend has it, and I think she got about as far as Chris did, and she just hasn't played anymore. So, and I don't think she finished it on the Wii either. So that's good. That's good. It's money well spent. But she is the boss. So whatever she wants to do, she can do. Speaking of Skyward Sword HD, though,
I was going to say, surely it's Breath of the Wild. No one would debate Breath of the Wild being the best Switch game.
I mean, I only played it on Wii U, so when I play it on Switch, I'll let you know. But maybe we'll talk about it later on, Chris. But I have got one pickup, Craig, which is so I'm going to preface it. This is the most pointless thing I've ever bought, like the most pointless thing I've ever bought. But I saw it. I think with postage, it cost me £18, which is a very good deal for what it is. And Craig is going to just whatever. This is the Wii Mini, which most people probably haven't even seen. It is a revision of the Wii they made that is a top loader. It's got a copy of Animal Crossing, Let's Go to the City in there.
It looks like a 1990s CD player.
It looks like a Super Nintendo, but like it's a top loader. And I was like, I've always been fascinated. It's so pointless. Like it doesn't have HD out. It doesn't have GameCube support. You can't connect it to the internet. Like it was a very late revision. It came out like after the Wii U. Obviously, my Wii U plays Wii games. But I saw this. I haven't bought anything for months. Like I think when we left, it was like May or something. Other than like that wrestling game I bought for us for a video, like I haven't bought anything. So I was just like, you know what? I kind of want an actual Wii at some point. So I've picked it up. I'm looking forward to using it every now and then. But it's just a collectible. I don't often buy. I'm not like Chris. I don't often buy stuff purely for collection reasons. But this is one of those things. And I will play it. I'm planning. I bought a new cable for it. So I'm planning to just see how the composite looks on my 50-inch TV, just to see. And it come with a fancy ass. Can't find the nunchucks here, so it came with a nice red remote. And this is probably worth more than the console. Like buying one of these is probably 25-30 quid now. So the fact that I've got the nunchuck with a console for £18, all in all, I'm pretty pleased with. But yeah. So every now and then I do it, Craig. Every now and then I do it. Still probably get more play than my Stadia account will, so good stuff. But anyway, let's move on to what is the topic of the show that we teased last week, I believe. It's our Halo rankings. Guys, are you ready to rank them Halos?
Yes. Let's do it.
So
let's finish this fight.
So these are the games we got here. This is the Halo. I've got more than this. I've got like the map pack for 2 and like whatever. This is Halo. It all says Halo on all of them. That's Halo. That's exciting. So what I got the boys to do, I got them to list their top 9. We haven't included Spartan Assault and stuff like that, or Cortana in Windows. And I told them to send it to me. We did what we did with the our top games. I have listed them with points assigned. It's all very exciting. So before we begin, is there any hazard a guess at what you reckon is first and last, like predictions before we go, and then we'll see as you go what you think. So Craig, what do you reckon was the worst rated game for us all, and what do you reckon was the best rated game for us all?
I would imagine the worst is either going to be Halo 5 or one of the Halo Wars.
Okay.
And for best, it's a tough one. Because I reckon you two will put the older ones quite high, whereas I haven't. So maybe I'll go in the middle, something like Halo 2 or something like that.
Okay. Pengy?
I think it was the highest one when we did our top 25, so I think Reach will be on number 1. And
no,
then
Halo 3, I think, was the highest one.
Right, okay. And then I think the worst will be one of the Wars games or Halo 5, something like that.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to tell you what I think because I know.
Okay.
So, starting off, number 9, the official Pod of War worst Halo game is, of course, Halo 5 Guardians. So, me and Chris had that dead last, and Craig had it third from last. So, any thoughts, guys, on why you all dislike Halo 5 so much?
I wouldn't say I dislike it. I wouldn't say I dislike any of the Halo games,
dislike it the most.
Yeah. I think it's got that bad combination of the story sucks, and then when me and you replayed it recently, Dave, we had that problem where you basically fight the same boss 6 times or something like that. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but it really does feel like you are just fighting that boss again. I think that's what lets that game down the most. The actual gunplay and all that is absolutely fine. It is just that boss fight and the story.
Yeah, and I agree. And I felt kind of harsh because obviously I put it last, but the overall package is Halo 5's problem for me because I really enjoyed Warzone Assault actually quite a lot, and I played it quite a bit. Obviously, the problem is now you can't play it because no one's playing it, which is funny. The campaign is just not fun actually, which is it's not bad. It's not like, I wouldn't say it's awful, but it's for the Halo series. It's just not a fun campaign. Like, it was bearable for us to play in co-op, but the thought of playing that on the hardest setting by myself for an achievement is like, it just feels like a firefight. The campaign, you just go from area to area with a bad cutscene, and then fight a load of waves of enemies, and then fight the same boss. And it's like pretty much the whole game's that. There's a couple chief missions which are quite interesting. I think the first chief mission on the spaceship is pretty good. And potentially the last one, other than the boss fight, is quite fun. But yeah, it just does nothing. It's the most forgettable game, which is
yeah.
mad.
I was gonna say that's also why I put it 5th. Like, I don't think I played much multiplayer of 5, and I honestly can't remember anything about the campaign whatsoever. So I'm like, well, it couldn't be that good. I can't remember anything about it, so I'm putting it last.
There you go, that's the Chris Pengelly. That's going to go on the remaster box.
Yeah.
So as predicted, in the next positions we have a tie, and that is both the Halo Wars games, which we all placed. Chris actually placed them the highest of all of us. Craig did not rate them, and I get why, because they're completely different types of games. I like them more than 5, so I'll go first. I think they're good for what they are, but the rest of the series is such a high bar at sort of like at a genre I like more. So like, I prefer FPS over RTS, so I prefer them over 5 for all they do, and they were quite fun. We played them in co-op, and we played a lot of multiplayer of Halo Wars 2, me and Pete, and I think Chris as well. So
yeah, because that was that weird 3 versus 3 mode.
I've played like 60 hours of Halo Wars 2 multiplayer. Like, it's really enjoyable for what it is, but again, it's because it's a different genre. It just doesn't do it for me, and I suspect for especially Craig, that is probably an agreement for you.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like I said, not like I disliked them at all. Enjoyed our little co-op run throughs we did at them, specifically 2. I think 'cause the story was quite good in 2.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally just because when I think of Halo, I think of fun first-person shooter, not the RTSs. So it's hard to compare the RTSs to first-person shooters anyway, because they're so different.
I agree. Any thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, I put Wars 2 at 7th because we played a lot of multiplayer of it, and that was a good time. The campaign was it was good as well. I put Halo Wars 1 in 5th. Really liked Halo Wars 1, especially being an RTS and an RTS on console, and like we were talking about Humankind, and that's a different genre as well. But I played that on PC. That feels like a PC game. So Halo Wars, being an RTS that worked on console really well, and I really like the campaign and that and how it tied into the rest of the Halo universe, and then the multiplayer as well. So I really enjoyed Wars. One, I was like one of the people that go, "Oh, we want a Wars 2. We need a Wars 2." And then obviously when I seen it at like E3 or Gamescom, whatever it was that year, I was like, "Oh, really excited about Wars 2." So that's why I put Halo Wars 1 quite high.
Very good. Right, we haven't hit anything controversial yet, but let it be known it's coming soon. So the first. Not the first FPS, because 5's an FPS, Dave. The next one on the list, which misses out by a point to go up a place, is Halo 3 ODST, which we've all placed round about middle of the pack. Chris has rated it the lowest of us. Yeah, Craig, what are your thoughts on ODST?
I think probably the part that's let down for me is I remember when I first played ODST, the amount of times I got lost in that hub world, trying to find where to go, and that's like one of my main memories of that game. It's just running around the is it Mombasa streets, and just trying to figure out what on earth I was meant to be doing. But the actual, obviously, it is a very good Halo game. It's got the awesome cast, pretty much the Firefly cast. And yeah, when we did the co-op run, it was good fun. It was funny.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, that's why I put it at 6 because the cast and that was really good in it. So really good story and introduced Firefight. I believe is the first one that had that, which at the time was an interesting mode, but now that mode's been done quite a few types of like that's been done quite a few times. So it's lost a bit of luster, but at the time that was a good mode. I played that quite a bit of multiplayer as well. So yeah, that's why I put it there.
And I had this quite high. Actually, I had by far the highest points assigned to it was from me. I just like ODST overall as a package. Obviously, it's the only real spin-off like DLC game, so it's never going to be as good as a high budget big release. But the overall package for £30 when it came out, like I said, Firefight mode was great. It had all of Halo 3's multiplayer plus the map packs and stuff. And the main game I really enjoyed. It's got a really cool atmosphere that I don't think is sort of seen enough in Halo. I think 4 kind of does it a little bit, but like ODST in particular has, and maybe Reach actually, but ODST has this really kind of like grim like atmosphere, and it's really cool.
Well, it's this is what they're not regular humans, 'cause obviously they're ODST, but this is like the regular humans fight against the Covenant compared to like being a super soldier.
Yeah, it's the aftermath of the big plot point in Halo 2 as well. So it's kind of interesting to see like different angles, and obviously I like the mission structure of the sort of hub world into these like memory like Halo missions. Obviously, so the cast is fantastic, the voice acting is great. The new monsters and characters are pretty good. Even the silenced SMG you get is actually a pretty fun gun to use in the Halo 3 engine. But yeah, it's a side game, so it's always going to be a side game. But I enjoy it, and so the package overall is probably the best value other than MCC. That Halo has done.
Because it wasn't that short either, was it? It was a decent length.
It's about 5-6 hours. Same, and a bit more if you play it on the harder setting. Which it's a very good solo legendary game as well. It's probably one of my favourites for that because it is because you don't get your health back, so it's like you got to take it seriously. Next on the list, potentially controversially here, because 2 of us have rated it very highly. Like 2 of us have put it 3rd, and then someone else has put it 2nd bottom, which is why it's dropped to this point, and that is of course Halo 4.
I thought it was going to be something else.
No, so you'll be surprised which one of us has slandered that.
Chris has put this in 8th.
He's put this below the likes of Halo Wars 2, ODST. Yeah, I mean,
you need to explain yourself here, Chris. Yeah, because this is madness.
We'll talk first because me and Craig are positive, right? So yeah. I think it's the most underrated Halo game by a long way. Its only real issue to me is the finale is kind of anticlimactic, especially because the main twist in the game is basically spoilt with the next game. So it's a big character death basically, and that's spoilt in the next game. But the overall, I think the multiplayer is one of the best in the series. It's absolutely fantastic. Spartan Ops as a DLC mode is absolutely fantastic. Forge is great. And the campaign's a lot of fun. It has some really good missions. The first mission in the game is fantastic on the falling apart ship. You've got the cool Warthog level you always have. That's great. Even the new enemies are pretty enjoyable at this point because they haven't worn out their welcome, but like they had in 5. Because in 5 you just fight them over and over and over again. Whereas the kind of growing tension between the Covenant, the Prometheans, and the human faction, and like this is Chief in a new world. Like he's it's not the same human UNSC as it was in 3. I think it's really interesting, and like I said, the gunplay is fantastic in Halo 4. And I thought that at the time. Then when me and Craig went and played it, when we did our big playthrough, I was like, oh, this game is legitimately really fun, and that's why I had it at number 3. I'd imagine Craig has got similar sentiments to this.
Yeah, so I had it at number 3 as well. Like you said, when we went back and played this, I was not expecting anything from it.
No.
But the campaign, like you said, the guns feel so meaty in this game. They really did jump from 3 to 4 in terms of how the guns feel. It's quite impressive. And like you said, the multiplayer is really good. It introduced the whole kind of care package mechanic, I believe, in this one, where you get things like the saw dropping down, and you could choose what you had. I just remember running around with that saw like LMG thing and just annihilating people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe the multiplayer maps were really good in this one as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the overall package, I say, was great. Slander that Chris had this at 2nd bottom. Madness.
So go on then, Chris. Other, and you're not allowed to say the phrase "it's not made by Bungie" because that's stupid as an argument.
Yeah, sure. Like I never played the multiplayer of 4, so which might be a tell for like where I play. So I'm basing this just on the campaign alone, and out of all the Halo campaigns, like I got Wars 2 to 7th. I haven't played Halo 4 since it's come out, since it came out. So which I think was
2012. It was one of the last 360 games.
Yeah. So I haven't played it for like 9 years, so my memory might be foggy. But if you said to me, "Oh, right, you got to go play Halo Wars 2 campaign or Halo 4 campaign," I would sooner play Halo Wars 2 from memory of what I've played of them.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if you played it now if you'd feel the same, because I don't think you would. I think
you'd be surprised.
I think it's aged the best of the. It's probably aged the best of all the Halo campaigns because it feels the most modern. Like some of the games we'll talk about later.
But I just remember buying, I bought, whatever the fancy special edition was at the time for Halo 4, and I was disappointed with it when I played it, and like I didn't even bother with the multiplayer with it compared to like 3 and stuff.
There we go. That was Chris's insight into why he hasn't played it in 10 years.
He was disappointed.
He was disappointed 10 years ago. Right, next up on the list, maybe controversially, but I don't actually think it is a controversial opinion anymore, is Halo 2.
Where we put Halo 2?
Halo 2 is number 4.
Okay, yeah, that's...
Chris is annoyed. Chris had it quite high. Chris had it as his number 3. Craig had it as his number 4. I had it my number 5, so I guess I should go and explain myself first. It has the worst campaign, other than 5. Because its difficulty is absolutely atrocious. It's got the worst difficulty of any of the Halo games. Like it spikes in places like the fucking jackals in like the second mission are awful. We've had nothing but trouble trying to play that game in co-op as well because it doesn't let you have respawns and stuff. It doesn't.
It's the only one that does that as well.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't have an ending. The game doesn't end particularly well. It's very abrupt. And it's an unfinished game. Especially now, like I remember at the time I was very impressed because graphically it's very impressive, and the multiplayer could have pushed it higher. But I think with time, the games I've got above it have all got better multiplayers. Even if you take it at face value of when it happened, like obviously it's a revolutionary game. It's the best-selling game on the original Xbox. I love the game. Don't get me wrong, because it's Halo. I like all of them. But for me personally, I think the overall package is one of the weaker Halo games, especially of the first-person shooters. But obviously, you guys don't quite agree. So we'll go with Craig next, as he's the least extreme, and then we'll go to Pengy on the other end of the spectrum.
So obviously the difficulty in that, I definitely agree with you. And from the sounds of it as well, we did the first 3 levels, and that was painful enough. And it sounds like it only gets harder. Like the flood missions, by the sound of it, are atrocious. So that's something for us to look forward to if we ever get that far. But yeah, the one thing I do like about it is it probably for me has the best story of the actual games. I know that's a bit weird for me because I only played the enhanced
the
Master Chief Collection,
the nice graphic version.
But obviously it has a bit so you're playing kind of like as the Covenant. You're seeing things from their point of view, which is really cool. And that enhanced edition is incredible. The cutscenes in particular look amazing. I don't think that's Bungie, was it? That was 343 that would have done that.
Yes, they did the remaster.
So yeah, they did an incredible job on that. But yeah, for me, I'm basically basing off of that. And I believe whenever we've played the multiplayer in the MCC, 2 is always my least favorite multiplayer by far. So that's for me. So for me, it's kind of middle of the pack, where it's like it had the best story, but like the missions and that weren't actually as good as the other games.
That's fair. And Pengy?
Basically the opposite of Halo 4. It's like I remember being super excited getting Halo 2, playing it, System Link, original Xbox, going through the campaign co-op and stuff like that, and playing so much multiplayer of it. Basically, that's why I put it in third, just because the multiplayer was so good on Halo 2. It was what got if you're going to play multiplayer online, you're playing Halo 2. That was it. That was the thing to play.
Yeah, and
And like even went into like the early 360 was, people were still playing Halo 2 then online. Obviously, early 360 wasn't a whole lot of online, but it went on for quite a while. I remember like the last day, people were still like logged on after it was like supposed to shut down because they were still in matches and stuff like that. It was, the multiplayer experience. The campaign was really good as well. Like I said, playing it in co-op and that, playing as the Arbiter at the time was, playing from the enemy perspective was really great. So yeah, like you said, the ending of it is why it didn't get higher on my list, mainly due to the ending.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's the most nostalgic pick, Halo. I think all of the Halo games. I think if we all played them like before we did this list, I think, especially in its original form, I think Halo 2 it ages. And I think that's probably why I've put it so low. It's because me and Craig have played them all so recently. Because you are. I think at the time again, if you'd asked me in 2008, Halo 2 would be my number one because I played it so much back in the day. But I think now in 2022, which is depressing to say as a number, it's kind of dropped off a little bit for me. Next on the list, which is our number 3, if my maths are correct, is the complete opposite of Halo 4 in that you two have ranked it very highly and I've ranked it very lowly, and that is of course Halo Reach. So we'll start with Pengi this way. We'll go the other way round.
Yeah.
So Chris, Halo Reach you had as number 2. It's
Yep.
our number 3. What do you think?
The only reason I didn't put it number 1 is because what my number 1 is what it did for gaming and stuff. But Reach has got the best campaign and the multiplayer is fantastic as well. It's got everything. It's like the complete Halo package. It's got a good campaign and a good multiplayer. Like I was talking, going back to Halo 4, for instance, I didn't play the multiplayer. It might have been good, but Reach had both. I wanted to play the single player, I wanted the multiplayer, play it all the time as well. It's the complete package of Halo, and how it goes into the end.
I can't wait to talk about it, Craig.
So I was starting saying I love the DMR. The DMR is one of my favorite weapons in any video game ever. And obviously this introduced that gun. So I loved the multiplayer. I absolutely adored the multiplayer for this game. I know a lot of people didn't like it because of a lot of the Forge maps that slowly got incorporated into the matchmaking.
Slowly.
Just headshotting people with that DMR was so satisfying. That thud that gun made, it felt brutal. It felt great. It's probably my most played Halo multiplayer as well, so that's probably why it's has that nostalgia for me. And I love the campaign as well. The elites are brutal in this game. The AI and the elites are so good. The amount of times you will be trying to get their shields down just for them to then duck into cover and fully recharge, and you'll be screaming and shouting, but it's good. It's challenging, and as Chris said, I absolutely adore the ending of this game. There's a moment.
That last mission.
Yeah,
so good.
There's a moment when you realise that this game has to do something at the end, otherwise it's bottled everything, and then it does it, and you're like, this is great. This is what I wanted. It reminds me a lot of Rogue One.
Yeah,
game.
It's very similar.
Yeah,
but one person lives in Halo, if you remember. So. Me, I put it. Where did I put it? I gave it 4 points, which was 4 from bottom. It only got that high because I've played the MCC version. Because the original release would have been lower than 5 for me. It's just I'm the complete opposite, Chris. I think it's the worst overall package because the original. So we'll talk about the original release first before MCC redeemed it slightly. The campaign is fine. I think there's some missions that reuse areas a bit too much for my liking. I rolled my eyes at the whole context of everyone dying. The space mission is absolutely atrocious, especially on higher difficulties. On higher difficulty, play on a high difficulty now. It's atrocious. I think when me and Craig played it, one of us died 2 seconds in, and that was that for them.
I think did one of us end up hiding behind one of the big
we ended up we died so much on that mission, Craig. It's not even funny,
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I think it's a bit of it's trying something new. I was like, it just doesn't work for me. The multiplayer is. The original release was awful because not only did it have armor locking and all this crap, it had awful default controls. Where you had to go down sites with clicking sticks. But it wanted to be Call of Duty, but it wasn't quite. I hate the DMR. I think the DMR is awful, and it's the like least Halo-y gun ever. It's like, oh, let's just make a Call of Duty gun and put it in a Halo game. I hated it, couldn't stand it. And the maps, every time I played that game when it came out, it was, oh, here's a Forge map, and I'm like, I don't want the crappy fan-made map. Give me an actual map that isn't just a rip-off of an old map. But his Blood Gulch, but it's not quite as good. You know what I mean? His Valhalla, but it's not quite as good. And I was just, I didn't enjoy that game in its original release until they put out the Halo 1 remake that had maps from Halo 1 as DLC for Reach. And that was like the first time I was like, oh, the multiplayer isn't awful. It has firefight mode, which by this point, as Chris said, every game had, and it just wasn't special. It was okay. So it's playable, but like by then, Horde mode on Gears was a different level. You had stuff like Left 4 Dead and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it didn't do it. Reach on MCC did redeem it slightly because they fixed the controls, because you can map the same controls for all the games. So you could, I could completely customize the controls to make it like a modern game, which made the multiplayer a lot better. I still think even the default maps are some of my least favorite on MCC. Like I think 2 is just rough for multiplayer sometimes on MCC, but Reach is by far my least favorite. I mean, I just don't enjoy it. I know that's slanderous. The campaign is its best feature, but equally, I prefer ODST as an overall package. If I was going to compare the two games, I think it gets a bit too much bump for being Bungie's last game. I don't think it's anywhere close to as good as 4. I think it's anywhere close other than the story. And I even, what I mean, that's not really why I play Halo. I play it because for the game, really the gameplay. So, but anyway, it snuck into 3rd on our list, so it can't have been too bad, could it? Number 2. Any guesses what number 2 is from the 2 games that remain?
It's Combat Evolved, number 2 then.
It is, because Craig didn't like it. So it's Halo 1, Combat Evolved. Chris had that as his favourite game. I had it as my second favourite game. And Craig had it where I had Reach. So he can explain himself in a minute. So I'll start.
Although one thing I will say, that should have been higher on the top 25 then.
Yeah, but it's the same with anything. When you have an opinion, it changes based on context, doesn't it? Like, I could have, like, if I was actually going to sit here and like rank all of my favorite games of all time, like I wouldn't want to have like 4 Halos on there. So I like subconsciously you might drop it, like you might drop one Halo.
See,
Chris doesn't have that problem because he's just like Metal Gear all the way down. But like,
I've done my top 9 exactly the same. So Combat Evolved and Reach that's the 2 I had on the top 25. I had Combat Evolved above Reach in top 25. So Combat Evolved went above Reach on this.
I think mine is simple. Also the same, but it's just in. I think
I was really tempted to put Reach as number 1, but I thought, no, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to have to put Combat Evolved number 1.
See, mine's an ever-evolving. And mine's the same. It's an ever-evolving list.
I wish I put Reach as number 1 now, just to annoy Dave.
I just wouldn't have recorded the episode. I would have done my own episode about Gears. That would have been a similar story. What was I going? So Halo Combat Evolved. So it's weird because I had to really include the Anniversary Edition list as well, because I've just played that version so many times. I personally think as a self-contained campaign, it's my favourite campaign. I just think it does everything it needs to do in its 6 hours. I think there's memorable missions. I think there's only really about one bad mission, and
library.
And even then, I think that's fixed in the Anniversary Edition. I think the first mission, Sun and Cartographer as well, are up there. The more at the end is up there with like some of my favourite missions of all time. The multiplayer maps are iconic and are good. Now it's difficult because obviously the first game was not online multiplayer. Like it was, but it wasn't. So you kind of have to. It kind of gets lost in MCC and Anniversary for me, which is probably like clouding it slightly. But as an overall game, it is my second favourite. It's if I was going to play a Halo game today by myself, I would play Halo 1, probably. You know what I mean? Like, especially the campaign. Like it's the most, for me, it's the most complete campaign, just because it's not trying to universe build massively. It's here's what the start is, here's the end. It does the thing that Gears 1 does, where it's kind of dark. And it's kind of like scary almost in places, like the reveal of the flood. It's a very intimidating section, as opposed to when you see the flood in like 2 and 3, and they're like cartoon characters. You know what I mean? Like it's a different vibe that I think a lot of these first games have, especially on Xbox, it seems. But yeah, I like it a lot. Obviously, Chris has put it as his favorite, so I imagine Chris also likes it quite a lot.
Yeah, basically what you said. If I had to go turn my Xbox on now, and you said you got to play a Halo game. it would become Combat Evolved. I don't know how many times I have finished this game on like the original Xbox. Like I said, going back to Halo 2 with System Link, this used to get played all the time. We had the 4 Xboxes plugged in, like the 4 TVs. We had cables hanging out the windows and that playing this. It was playing co-op on that, and then the multiplayer and that. I know it didn't have online at the time, but when we played that and set it up, and then like playing in like weird little tournaments and stuff like that with it, and then like the missions, like you say, like Pillar of Autumn, Halo, Silent Cartographer, the last mission. I can't remember what the last mission is called.
It's just called The Maw, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, and that like those missions are like iconic of it. Like it has got bad ones, like the library is really annoying. It might have, like you said, it might have been improved with MCC or something like that. But yeah, everything about it is the campaign, the multiplayer. Like if I had online back in the day, well, that would have been fantastic. That's why I think I had Halo 2 high, because so high as well, because we didn't have multiplayer for Halo 1 online, but we did for 2, and that got replaced for system leaking and sellotaping cables and stuff like that around the house to play it. But yeah, it was fantastic, and it's what the series obviously built on. It changed FPSs on console as well, stuff like that. Before that, it was like really GoldenEye was the benchmark of an FPS on the console, and then it was like Halo coming around, the dual sticks and stuff like that. Even for like the historical point of like the FPS genre, Halo 1 is fantastic.
It's not even that, it's the entire Xbox brand basically was born on Halo. So and it was nice to play an FPS that didn't run at 6 frames a second. Obviously, if you go back and play the N64 ones, we had some imaginative childhoods, didn't we? So Craig, obviously, let's get your slander out of the way. No, I'm joking. Obviously, Craig is the least nostalgic of us as well. Like, that's key to point out for anyone sends him any messages.
Yeah, I'll start off with the positives, and that is I absolutely love the multiplayer on the MCC.
We have a lot of fun doing that, don't we?
Yeah, that used to be my favorite whenever it popped up. Weirdly, even though I have no nostalgia for this game, I never played it at launch. I didn't play it until the 360 anniversary edition. But the multiplayer is great, running around with the pistol, just headshotting people and trying to get the rockets. And the maps are all fantastic as well. They're all very simple and silly, and with all the teleporting and all that, that's all great. But for me, the campaign, like I said, playing the anniversary edition, not playing it back in the day, it really did kind of open my eyes. Just like, oh, games have moved on. Mission design has moved on massively, because you're playing like missions like the library. Oh my god, that is awful. That is just like 50 minutes of going through the same corridor over and over again, and then you think you're done, and you go up another floor and you do it all over again. You're fighting the same enemies, and I think there's multiple missions like similar to that in that game.
I think there's one more where you go one way and then you come back the other way.
It might actually be 343 Guilty Spark mission, mightn't it?
Something like that. There's a mission where you go through and then you come back the other way, but like everything's dead.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, like I said, no nostalgia at all, and just playing those levels whenever it would have been on the anniversary edition, like going back to it was brutal. It's like, oh god, this is definitely an old game. But it does obviously have some good missions. I love the last mission. Any mission that ends with a Warthog just driving like crazy, it's always fun.
Nice. And obviously that leads us nicely into what is obviously the first game. It's always going to be the number one whenever you do a Halo list, because for people at our age, it's just always going to be, because it's the peak of the series. We were all like 16, 17 when it came out. That's of course Halo 3, which is the 360 Halo, right? That's basically why we all bought 360s. Maybe Call of Duty for Craig, but Halo 3 was an absolute phenomenon. It's the peak of the series, really, for me. It's never been that good. It's never been as popular as it was then. Campaign is great. It has got some bad missions. I mean, I won't lie. There's a mission near the end where you go into the grave mine. I think it might even be called Grave Mine, which is terrible. But the rest of the missions are pretty good. It has the almost perfect Warthog ending.
I killed my elite.
God.
that mission. That's what my
blow up?
no, yeah, my 360 red ringed on that mission.
Oh, that's brutal.
And then when I turned my 360 back on, I had the achievement for finishing the game, but not finishing that mission.
What a way to
Yeah.
go.
Did you go back and get it, or did you just
Yeah,
leave it
I
like
went back.
Crispin Gilly?
I went back and got after obviously sending my 360 away and that.
And obviously, this was the first Halo game with achievements as well. That's got to be said. I think it arguably has at the time the best multiplayer. Everyone played Halo 3 online. Again, the achievements, the different ranking modes and things you could do, stuff like Big Team Battle. Forge was great at the time because it was a new exciting thing. 4-player co-op, which was amazing. It had the big hype around it with the red versus blue stuff. It was at its peak at this time. It was before Modern Warfare, just 6 months before Modern Warfare or something. So FPSs wouldn't change again until that. So it was still it was the peak of that type of FPS. The multiplayer, even the map packs were great. As I said with the ODST, the Mythic map pack and stuff was fantastic. All the map, every multiplayer map in Halo 3 is amazing. I can't think of one I don't like. Even stuff like the pit that I'm bad at is a good map. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's crazy. All of the new vehicles with the Mongoose and stuff was fun. All the power ups because they were situational as opposed to armor locking. You had the shield, the bubble and stuff you could drop, and it was just great. It was great fun. You could be had screwing around with all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Halo 3. It does get a little bit of a pass because it came out in 2007 when I was 17 and had all of the time. And so I honestly must have played 600-700 hours of multiplayer for Halo 3 because I just didn't have anything else to do, and it was it. And this is pre-Facebook, this is pre-Snapchat, pre-Instagram. If you want to chat to your friends, it was Xbox Live. So yeah,
it was private chat as well.
It's private chat.
It
was in-game chat. Yeah, more than likely at that point. So Craigo, Halo 3.
Yeah, so this is my nostalgia Halo. This is the first one that I played. So for me, this is always, the one that I think the highest of. Like you said, the multiplayer was amazing. Running around with needlers and stuff like that, trying to get the energy swords was always fun. And I always had a good thoughts of that campaign as well. Amazing last level. And I think it was the first time I'd ever played 4-player co-op on a game, and that playing 4-player co-op was just it seemed incredible to me at the time. So yeah, definitely it was always one that I think of. When I think of Halo 3 is the first one that I think of.
Yeah. Pengy?
Yeah, I had it the lowest of all of us, but it's a weird one. I had it 4th, which sounds kind of low, but because the others are so good. A 4th place Halo game is nothing to sniff at. It is still a really good. The campaign was great. The multiplayer was great, like you said about the DLC, and I remember getting that because Halo 2 you had to go I went and bought the weird disc for Halo 2, for instance. It's multiplayer, but it's how that was changed and stuff like that, and obviously finished the story coming off Halo 2 is really excited to play the multiplayer single to finish the fight.
It's Halo 3 was so good, and I have such memory for that. I bought Crackdown when it came out to play the beta.
Same.
And I'd never the beta for Halo 3 was such an event. It's hard to explain to people now because it's YouTube had just come out. I think it was new, so you couldn't just go on YouTube and watch a trailer or gameplay, or there wasn't a streamer telling you all this. It was red versus blue videos on roosterteeth.com, and it was Screw Attack doing a preview about it, about the Nintendo Revolution, and then this new Halo game and stuff like that from E3, and it's that microcosm of the internet before it was the internet we know now, and I think that all just adds to the hype. That's one of the few games. I remember going to a shop. I remember finishing college, Richard Jewish College. Oh yeah, I remember literally walking home from college, going to, it would have been Game Station, I think, at the time that I'd pre-ordered.
Yeah, I got mine from Game Station.
Yeah, and I walked in, got my pre-order. I didn't get the steelbook because the steelbook for 2 was notorious for cracking discs, as I didn't want to risk it, so I just bought the standard edition. I remember buying.
Oh, you only went standard.
Yeah, the Halo 2 thing scared me off. And of course, I think my friend Pete did as well. The helmet and stuff.
Yeah.
I bought a new 360 controller, which I still have, which is a limited edition one, not the green one that came with it, the Spartan one that came with the little figure. I remember buying about 10 liters of Pepsi Max and probably like a 12-pack of ready salted crisps and like Pringles and shit, and I'd literally been like, I think it came out on a Friday as well, so I was literally like, Mum, hold my calls, you know, if anyone comes to the door, I'm not here, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was one of those, and it's probably was the last time I've had something like that, where I had absolutely zero responsibilities and maximum time to just play Halo. I think I played I remember playing with a group of people I didn't usually play with. Like, we played. I have the game saved, because you could save your games, and it'd upload it to Halo Waypoint. So I think I still have my first match of Halo 3 on. If I loaded up the game now, I should be able to download it. But it's just a random group of people from school and college that I hadn't spoken to really regularly, and we all went on there and played. I think it was like a 5-player free-for-all, maybe like 8 players actually. It was just fucking stupid, great fun. And you get the Spartan laser. You're like, well, how does this work? Because obviously, other than the beta, you haven't, like, which was Valhalla, if I remember rightly. That was the main map in the beta, which is like one of the best maps. No one really knew how to use the new weapons. So I remember someone getting the Spartan laser and just sort of holding it, and it's doing nothing. And then then it happens, and you're like, oh, sweet Jesus. And that was I think that game was the game that started off the 360 no scope culture of like videos of like Halo highlights and stuff. Like, I remember I remember the earliest YouTube being like Halo highlights and stuff like that.
I sort of like Achievement Hunter, and was doing a lot as well, that sort of thing, wasn't it, back in the day?
Yeah, so was Achievement Hunter, I don't know if they launched Achievement Hunter properly.
Oh, it might have been.
It was still Rooster Teeth, but I think they were doing tips and tricks videos for Halo 3.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were doing Red vs Blue, because they did PSAs because they were in Halo 3. Jeff and I can't even remember the other guys' names. That's bad, isn't it? Bernie and a couple of the other guys. Gus is in it. And there's one more, the weird tall guy who plays Caboose. But they're in the game. They're an Easter egg in the game. And they, obviously, because of Forge, you got Griffball and stuff like that, which is from Red vs Blue, and it's that whole Halo internet culture where it was quite innocent. It was before, like, now you've got all the scandals, and you got all the, like, for want of a better term, SJW stuff, and all this sort of the internet culture of now was not a thing back then. You know, like, the biggest internet game at that time was World of Warcraft. I think it would have been the second expansion. I think it was before Wrath of the Lich King. That's kind of the era. You know, we're at like that and South Park and stuff like that was really popular, and Jackass and stuff like that. It's like, it's very much a time and place thing, and if you're younger than we are, I think you're not going to have that same. I think that's why Halo isn't considered as big as, like, say, Call of Duty. You know, like, I still think of Halo as one of the big FPS games. I don't know if young people.
No, I remember always remember you. You're right. So I always remember it was an X-Cast, and Paris was talking. He was on about I think his 13 or 14-year-old son, and he was like, he showed him like the trailer for Halo, and he was like, yeah, I'm going back to Fortnite. So it was like, yeah, okay, 13-year-old doesn't care, but Paris cares. So
it's Halo 3.
It's because I guess because also Halo 5 was quite a while ago now. We hadn't had anything in between that.
Yeah, Halo 5 was 2014.
Yeah, so you're looking at
maybe 2015 at a push.
Yeah,
it was MCC the year before, so maybe MCC was 2014 and 5 was 2015.
Yeah, so you're looking at 6 years ago. Yeah, so that's
20 Call of Duties in that time, 16 Battlefields, Fortnite and Apex and PUBG and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I think that's why it, like you're saying, for us it's huge, but I think maybe a certain age group it's not. Because there's, Halo hadn't really been a thing for them, so
yeah. And again, like I say, like, culture now is all based on streamers and YouTubers and stuff. Like, and it just, like,
if they all jump on Halo,
yeah, and it's there wasn't microtransactions, there wasn't stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, it was a young time for the internet, and maybe that's why we're so nostalgic. But that was our number one. So along with Gears of War being the best game of all time, Halo 3 is the best Halo game. So I hope you all agree with that. Listen, don't comment at all in the comments. I don't know what Al's relationship with Halo is. I'm sure he'll let us know. I vaguely remember him playing it with us. I don't know. If this was like Pete watches this, he'll have a very different opinion to mine.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I remember Pete was a big fan of Reach.
He was.
And 4, wasn't he?
And 4, yeah. Pete's like, if you think we like the multiplayer for 4, like, if I ever, like, Pete's hours on 4 are ridiculous, and it's a shame that Chris didn't play 4 multiplayer. I think that would probably push it up for him. But it's a very good game. Again, and if you haven't played Halo now, it's all on Game Pass. Every single game is on Game Pass. Even stuff we haven't talked about, like Spartan Assault, which it wasn't worth talking about, but it's on there if you want to play it. But yeah, so that's the Halo episode. Obviously, next week it seems like we're probably going to do our September excitement episode, because obviously every now and then we just don't have anything to talk about, so we just talk about what's
Unless,
coming
like I said, we got 3 shows this week. Unless something very interesting happens.
Or we all play Psychonauts. That's the potential. It could be.
That's out on the
Psychonauts
Tuesday as well, I think. So
Yeah, so it
no,
could be-
Wednesday. It was Wednesday, which seemed rather weird, but yeah.
Yeah, so unless we do our first impressions, but we will see. So that's another week of Pod of War. If you like the show, drop a like, subscribe to the channel because we're still struggling with subscriber numbers. It's weird. My wrestling channel, keep getting it, but I have to get that big WWE 2K whatever gameplay footage in here, boys. It's the only way. But yeah, we will see you next week.
Bye.